Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Stories. And today we're going to talk about, do we really care what the seller paid for the house when they bought it? Welcome back, Michelle.
Hello.
So Michelle and I were talking, and she's working with a client right now trying to buy a house. And it seems to be like this client is fixated on what did that seller pay for the house, and what does this buyer believe is fair for a gain on the house? Like, what's the story there? What's going on?
Yeah. And not only is he fixated, it's in a really popular development, so that even makes it worse. So yeah, you go and you try to explain that that's how it is right now, and you kind of tiptoe around trying to make him understand that consumer has basically made this development like it is. And whether they paid $300,000 for it, and now it's $500,000 for it, that's the worth of the house.
All right, wait, so time out. Let me understand this. So you go to look at a house today and in that neighborhood, and it's $550, right? And the buyer you're trying to help likes the house.
Loves it.
It's a beautiful neighborhood. Most of the homes there are pretty nice. I know where you're shopping.
Yeah.
And then does the buyer say, hey, Michelle, can you tell me in public records, what did the seller pay for the house? Like,
he's looked it up already.
He already looked it up. Wow.
He's already looked it up.
Okay. So what about, like, this is mind blowing. What about, does it matter to him, or is there any weight given to, did the seller buy it a year ago or 8 years ago? Like, this
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So wait. So
for this particular house, they bought it 5 years ago.
Okay.
For X.
Okay.
Okay. Now it's Y, and he does not believe it's worth Y because the market is like that right now. So he doesn't believe that.
Give us some real approximate numbers to the best that you can remember. Okay. So the house you're thinking of for this story that we're sharing on our Real Estate Stories is listed for about how much?
$575.
Okay, so $575. You look up the public record, or he looks up the public record, and he sees that about 5 years ago, you said?
Correct.
The seller paid about
$350.
$350. Okay. Okay. And he's like, no, the seller
mind you, the house is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a beautiful neighborhood, I'm sure.
Gorgeous. So no, he was, why should I pay so much more money than they paid 5 years ago?
And so he thinks that the house, which is $575, I'm writing this down so I can think straight. So he thinks the house that he paid that's listed for $575, that the seller paid $350 for?
Approximately $350.
So he thinks it's worth how much?
In the high fours.
So he thinks, so he thinks, this is a really interesting mindset. So he thinks it's okay for the seller to have a gain in 5 years, but he's capping it.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so he's capping it at high fours. So let's say $350. Let's say he says the house is worth $475. So have you asked him, would you make an offer for $475?
Yes. He would have, but then what do I have to explain? This is,
I know, it's
not
tough.
going to happen.
There hasn't been a house in that neighborhood to sell for $475 in a long time.
No.
Right. So I guess what he needs to watch one of our previous videos about how do you price a home, right? Because you don't determine the market. Yeah. I don't determine the market. Right. It's all of you guys out there that are basically determining the market, because the market is determined by how much people have paid for homes historically and what are they selling for in a particular neighborhood, right? So, it's interesting because I used to get that question more often prior to 2020, let's just say, when things were balanced, especially on a flip property. And actually still get that on a flip property, but like So, if an investor comes in to renovate a property and they pay, I've had people say, oh, okay, they paid 200,000 for it and now it's 450. I don't think they put $250,000 worth of renovations in.
Right.
Well, I don't know what they put in exactly, right? And I mean, people are allowed to make money, right?
Sure they are.
Like, this is a capitalist country. They can
What
ask
was the
whatever they
example
want.
we were talking about?
What did you
About
say?
the cars. We always go back to cars.
Yeah, like literally, right. We were just talking about that, right? So like, it's no different. I mean, it is different, but it's similar in that, hey, if you go to buy a car at a dealership and you've done your research and the car invoice is $50,000
Right.
and the dealer wants $55,000 for it, you can negotiate all you want, but you're not buying it for 40,
Right.
right? Dealership has to make money too, right? A little bit more or a little bit less on a particular car. But, that market is determined by that vehicle and what they're being sold for by other dealerships around the country for a similar car. Houses, kind of the same, except we're not looking all over the country. We're looking in a little neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. So we're looking, what are homes sold for in that neighborhood? So in this case, with this particular client, which is certainly frustrating for you, he doesn't want to pay market value for a property.
No.
And it sounds like maybe he's nervous that the values will drop. And I'm getting that question a lot lately. I don't know if you're getting that from clients.
Well, I mean, I understand that some people have paid top dollar, but again, that's the timing of when you're purchasing a home.
Here's what we know, guys. Short-term real estate values go do, 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 do.
Yeah.
Right now, we're in one of these, right? And it's
Yeah.
kind of flattening. But we also know that long-term, it's a line straight up. So
Exactly.
people have asked me, well, what do you think my house is going to be worth in 5 years if they're buying it right now?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. My crystal ball doesn't work. It never did.
A little tainted.
And the batteries just don't work in my crystal ball.
Plugged
So, but I know that in 5 years, it could be a little more, it could be a little less, it could be the same. And then they say 10 years. I go, well, historically, 10 years, you're fine.
Yeah.
The shorter cycles, we don't know. We have no idea.
Yeah.
Right. We just don't know. But the market of real estate moves much slower and steadier than stocks.
Yeah.
Stocks will fluctuate crazy day to day, but because of the length of time it takes to process a real estate transaction, everything in real estate moves a lot slower. So even when it starts to slow down, it's not crashing overnight either.
Yeah.
There's other factors at play. So I guess my best advice to you with this client is to do your best to try to continue to educate him and show him what homes have sold for in that neighborhood. And there's not a lot of sales. People don't like selling in that neighborhood. They really like their homes, so they're worth what people are willing to pay. And it sounds like he's off by about 100 grand.
Easy.
Yeah. All right. Thank you as always, Michelle.
Thank you.
All right. If you guys are interested in getting in touch with us on YouTube, all of our contact information is below. If you're looking for an agent in the Southern New Jersey area, we would love to help you. If you're looking for an agent anywhere else here in the United States, we have a network of like-minded professionals, and we're happy to make an introduction. Thank you for staying tuned to another episode of Real Estate Stories. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.